This is Life in a Mustang, and today I'm going to be doing the second part of the installment of the line lock on my Mustang, so stay tuned. Alright, let's get this started. Right here is the MC1. That is where I'm going to be connecting a barrel connector to go down to the top port of the solenoid. Right here, I'm showing you the barrel connector that I'm going to be using. I got it at AutoZone. I think it was like $3 or $4. It really wasn't that much. Right here is the MC1 old brake line connected to that barrel fitting, going down into the solenoid with that pipe that I did bend. And right here, you can travel it down and see the solenoid. Right here, I am going ahead and screwing in the top and bottom ones, just checking my fitment. It seems like it should work. I'm going to take it all back apart. I'm going to apply this right here. This it's like 400 degrees thread sealant for stuff like this. You get it at the auto parts store. It's not normal thread tape or anything like that. So I'm going to use that. I'm going to put it on everything, screw it all back together, let it dry. I'm going to bleed my brakes, wire the switch up, and hope it works. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and start tearing this thing back apart. I did my dry fit. Now what I gotta do is I gotta apply all the thread sealant to all these, screw them in all the way, make sure they're nice and snug, and then I can reinstall everything. Right here, I'm just taking it all back apart, getting every bit of it apart. I'm leaving this solenoid mounted because I do not need to take that apart. Go ahead and set my brake lines on the table. Now right here, you can see the amount of sealant that I did put on there. Now I'm screwing the thing back down. I'm tightening everything back down. Everything's got the thread sealant on it right here. Just putting it on there. Just putting it all back together. Sorry, the dry fit's done. This is final assembly. Screwing everything in. I'm gonna get it nice and snug. I would say probably around 5 foot-pounds, maybe even less. I mean, it is national pipe thread, I think is what the thread is. So I mean, if you don't have this sealant, I did find out it does leak. I went and bled my brakes and everything started leaking, and I was like, what's going on? And I had missed the fitting that I did not seal up with that thread sealant. That's 400 degrees thread sealant. You get it at AutoZone. It's probably $6 right there. Just snugging everything up, getting everything all set. And then after this, you're gonna have to move on and go ahead and bleed your brakes. I'll go over that in a second. Right here's that barrel connector that I had to go find. That barrel connector is what held me back from installing this entire system last week. I had to find one that would fit on that MC1 line that came out because it has such a long nose on it that it would not screw into any of the fittings that Hearst supplied. So I went and got that from AutoZone. And I'll go ahead and get this barrel connector in there since it was such a pain and caused me an extra week of waiting and work and everything else. Couldn't drive the car. Right here I'm just showing you the lines, the way that I routed them. Lines connected. The only thing that was holding me back was a barrel connector, which you can see right here. That's the only thing that held me back. Now what I did is I took this right here, 400 degrees Teflon liquid tape stuff. I put all my fittings together, bent everything, got it all together, took it all apart, put the thread sealant on all the threads, put it back together, snugged it down after everything was together. That way you could wiggle in. I still have to tighten the solenoid itself to the bracket. After I do that, we're gonna move on to the wiring. I actually forgot to pick up new switches, and I'll use the light. The light's nice. But I forgot to pick up new switches for today. I'm just going to use the switches they provided. Later on, I'll put my own switches in the place that I would like it. So I bought all this extra stuff. I bought these fittings, this brake line. This came with the Hearst kit. These came with the Hearst kit. I bought all that extra stuff and I didn't really need it. I only needed the barrel connector. I will get the part number and I'll write it all in the description below. And check out my other video. I'm gonna leave the link to in the description for that. That's gonna be part 1. Let's go ahead and get this thing buttoned up. I gotta bleed all 4 corners. That's gonna take a while. I'm not gonna show you guys that whole process. And then afterwards, let's try. Burn for now. Okay, I'm going to start this thing and go ahead and top off my reservoir. That way when I'm bleeding the brakes, I don't completely drain the reservoir and get a bunch of air in the line and have to start all over again. That's never good, and I actually did that. That's an 11mm wrench that goes on the back brakes. I think the front was 10mm. Right here I'm using my vacuum pump and just building up to 20-25 pounds of vacuum. And then I cracked that line open. You can see that fluid running into there nice and slow. I ended up cutting those lines and getting those kinks out of there. But just pumping away, getting that vacuum going. This thing is a lifesaver. You can see that in another one of my episodes of This Tool Is Cool. See all those air bubbles just shooting out of there? That's a quick and easy way to bleed your brakes by yourself and get all that old fluid out of there. Just go around, do all 4 corners. There's a sequence that you need to do starting from the furthest back. Okay, so I got the brakes bled on all 4 corners. Now what you want to do is you want to start at the farthest corner away from your brake booster cylinder, master cylinder, whatever, and then work your way forward to the wheel that's closest to the master cylinder. That one's gonna be your last one. I've got it all bled. On a 9904 Mustang GT, I was having trouble getting all the air out of the lines because there was a lot. Right here, these 2 fittings, I bled all 4 corners as best as I could, and then I went to those 2 fittings, these right here, and I hooked up my tool, this right here, hooked up this, the vacuum gauge. It vacated all the air out of the system. The brake pedal is as solid as the day this thing was new. So alright, let's get started with this wiring. This is a pretty simple thing to do. It's just a momentary switch. If you don't know how to wire a momentary switch, the instructions that come with the Hurst solenoid does have it in there with a wiring diagram. If you can't find that, or if you've misplaced your directions, you can always look online. There's plenty of forums, plenty of images on Google search. Now you're going to take your fuse. Your fuse should be 6 to 8 inches from the power source. The reason you do that is if that fuse does not pop, that wire only melts a couple inches instead of a whole car length. Right here you can see me putting that wire through the firewall, tracing that wire, just showing you how I ran it. I ran it along that windshield wiper tube. That's what your fluid flows through when it shoots up on your windshield with some water or whatever you got in there. Right there you can see I'm just loosely fitting everything to see how I'm gonna run this thing. I'm gonna actually run it through this channel right here that you can see, and I'm gonna drop it through there on the passenger side down to the solenoid, just snugging up those wires right there. Now let's go into the car, cutting off what the excess that you're not gonna need. Leave a little bit if you're gonna work on the car, you think you might have to take it off. Right there you can see the anti-lock brakes that I mounted that to. That's the bracket for the distribution block. You can see the black wire is the chassis ground straight off the solenoid. The red wire is going to connect to that wire that we dropped through there and ran across the car. Go back into your momentary switch, and then we'll wire up this light. Let's get started with that. I'll tell you how to do that right now. From the cigarette lighter to the ground side of the light, then we have the switch running to the light on one side, and then right here running out back under the dash. Comes through the firewall there. The wire goes down along here. The hot side connects to the fuse here. This wire runs in there, through there, underneath that, down through there. I'll clean that up a little bit. And then to the solenoid. And then when I press this, the light goes on. Okay guys, other than buttoning up the wire, it should be properly soldered, heat shrunk, and or taped. I prefer heat shrunk. I kind of just wired it together to get it going, to show you guys how it goes. It is pretty simple, especially if you look at the wiring diagram. And to get the light to work, all that. We're gonna go ahead and button up the complete install, put the wheels back on the car, and go ahead and test it. gonna try and see if the line lock works. I'm hoping it does. Okay, I'm applying the brake. I'm holding the solenoid.
Is there